We've been talking about that.
Hey guys.
All right, sir.
Hey,
How's your day going?
we're just good. We're just going through all of our marketing stuff for June.
June, July, and August. Good.
Yeah, mostly just June right now, trying to make sure what we've got going on. But yeah, June, July, August. When is the best time to send out your first like back to school mailer type stuff? You think the first week in August? School doesn't start until like the third week in August, and the first week in August we found that a lot of like our students in general are on vacation.
Yeah.
First and second week. They try to get in those last minute vacations. When do you think the best time to start hitting with back to school mailer?
My rule of thumb's always been 2 weeks before school goes back in session, and 4 weeks, once it's back in session.
Okay.
And you could extend that to 3 weeks, so it's right about what you were saying.
Okay. That's what I thought, but I just wanted to, was knowing, because I'm thinking the beginning of August, but that's the first week as August starts. 2 weeks prior. Okay.
Yeah, I mean you're gonna have some people who are on.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's get started here. I see we have Michael Burton with no video, but Nate and Mike with no video. And guys, feel free to turn on your cameras and be actively engaged. But Derek, welcome. And Andre, good to see you. I haven't seen you in one of our meetings in a while. So good to have you live on this one anyway. But there's Master Smith. And Master Smith, I believe I have the con, so we should be in good shape. And I'm at my desk, so. And we are recording, so all technical pieces are in good shape, I believe. Master Smith, why don't we do a little recap of what we covered so far? And by the way, I'm going to, apparently I'm signed in too. Amanda, I think you have some weird background noise.
Oh, we'll put us on mute unless you need us, because it's probably the dog panting.
Yeah, probably so. Probably so. Yeah, and I would recommend everybody just stay muted except when you're asking questions, and then we'll open it up at any time. You can mute or unmute yourself just with that little microphone icon. So you certainly don't have to stay muted. But Matt Smith, for everybody's benefit, why don't we kind of do a little recap of the last 2 weeks here real quick. And I, of course, missed last week. But our first meeting, we spent quite a bit of time talking about student service, prepping people for the summer, taking a look at ID cards, class attendance, next test date, really having mat chats with parents and with the students to project out when their next test date is, when they were going to be in the town, out of town, making sure that people don't get off track. And as a side note to that one, we did spend some time on making sure that nobody who's on our meeting is doing the ludicrous thing of cancel anytime you want with 30 days notice, or just first month down, pay monthly. I talked to a lot of schools who lament that they have a 30% drop in their billing over the summer, and we essentially never have any drop in the billing over the summer. And then I'll question them, and they'll say something ludicrous like, well, I never ever sued anybody on a contract, so therefore I decided, why have contracts? And I just sign everybody up with a first month down, then they can cancel in 30 days. And then a whole bunch of people contact me in May or June and want to cancel their program for a couple of months, and then they start in May. Whoever that was, feel free to hit mute for yourself, or we can mute out the erroneous background noise. But hopefully that's not anybody on the meeting, but if it is, it's a really bad strategy. What you want to be doing is making sure people are thinking in terms of training to black belt and beyond, that they're on a regular program. If they're going to be gone for a little bit of time over the summer, that's fine, add it to the program. But I really like sit down face-to-face, belly-to-belly, nose-to-nose, and spend time with each individual student. It doesn't have to be a long conversation. It can be mat chat, if you want to use that term, or it can be, just while they're sitting on, the parents are sitting on the bench. But look at their summer schedule, when they're going to be out of town, when they're going to be in town, plot with them to make sure they get consistent. So over a 3-month period of time, they would want to have 8 or 9 classes a month, 27 classes over the summer, whenever their next test date is. You want to plan for makeup classes, how they're going to come in to that. We talked a little bit, Master Smith and I did, about the idea of rank advancement camps, having a 1-week intensive or a 2-week intensive. To me, the primary selling point of that is if somebody's going to be out of town for a month over the summer, you could have a camp for the week and make them up for all their missed classes in 1 week. If somebody's going to be out of town for a week in July, and if they came an extra class for the week before they left and an extra class the week after they came back, they're still on track. So it's looking at that test cycle, how many classes they need, what that timeline is, and making sure they don't fall.
How to not have a drop at the same time for sales.
Whoever that is, I think Toby there, I'm going to mute you. The other thing we talked about on that first meeting was just the idea of hosting camps over the summer to begin with. And, we had a little bit of a tit for tat back and forth of Master Smith likes camps. I'm not that big a fan of them. But what I will say is, I've had clients who did as much as 1.5 million over the summer. I've had friends who netted as much as, separate from that one example, netted as much as $250,000 to $300,000 over the summer from summer camps. They are done properly a good business opportunity. My argument against camps generally is that just you have to separately staff them up. Don't use your primary staff, head instructor, program director, or whatever your structure is. Don't use your primary full-time staff to now show up at 7 a.m., stay there till 9 p.m. What happens, a lot of schools create a self-fulfilling prophecy where they think summer is going to be slow, which it isn't. It doesn't need to be, certainly if you have the right strategies. And since they think summer is going to be slow, they put all their staff to work on summer camps, and therefore they kill the primary business of the school. And then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. See, I told you summer was going to be slow. Well, no. I mean, if you take all your staff out of doing community outreach marketing activities, you take them out of being alive and energized and focused on renewals, retention, enrollments, and put them to work on babysitting all day, of course the school results are going to suffer. That's not reality of summer being slow. That's reality of you mismanaging your staff and opportunities. And I'm glad to see we have a great turnout today. Master Smith, anything I'm missing from that first meeting we had?
You have the controls, Master Oliver. If you could mute everybody. There's quite a few that aren't muted, I noticed. And then if they have a question, they can unmute themselves.
Yeah, I think we're good on background noise right now, Master Smith.
Okay, I just noticed there was quite a few that weren't muted, so I just knew that that would happen down the road.
I think there's exactly one.
Okay.
Okay, so we're good.
Okay, what's your question?
Anything I missed in our recap from our first meeting?
Well, I think there was a lot of things that the members were missing. Not the members of our group, but the ones that were in the last one. Yeah, we got some background noise now. Yeah, there. Okay.
No, I think that's on your end. Okay, so let's shift to last week. Last week we were going to do A to Z grassroots marketing, and that was the one I missed. I was in Knoxville last week. But the conversation about A to Z grassroots marketing, and that's something anybody who is here just on our summer special offer, you guys all have access to that. There's a 3-hour video recording of Master Smith, or a little bit more from a former marketing boot camp. And I would suggest and recommend you go through all that. What I will say is that, the marketing opportunities in the summer are a little different than they are spring and fall, especially in the kids market. But what happens over the summer is there's so many places that you can market the school. And I've always thought it's a marvelous time to dramatically ramp up your activities. And you have, I have looked at this for many, many, many years as my mission in the summer is twofold. And really it's the mission all the time. But my mission in the summer was to create at least 1,000, if not 1,500 or 2,000 leads. And Master Smith, I don't think Master Moody will be joining us today. I don't know as though he's going to be on the call or not. You had texted me about that, but
covered some internet marketing that I wanted him to recap on. So,
well, I can certainly cover whatever we need on that.
You asked for a recap, so I was going to have him recap what he covered is all.
Sure. Okay, so, but moving right along, what I will say is in the summer grassroots activities, what I've always put each and every one of my schools, each one of my staff on 2 missions. One mission is, of course, maintain our normal status quo, and our target was always 20 enrollments per month. And we wanted to hit that 20 enrollments in June, July, and August. And in fact, usually we were doing a bigger blitz in June, and oftentimes going way over that number. June was always a very, very, very successful month for us. But I wanted to at least maintain in July and August, and again, a blitz for back to school, that normal enrollment flow. And my personal target was always 100 enrollments a month or 120 enrollments a month, depending upon whether it was 5 or 6 locations, meaning that every school was going to do 20 enrollments a month. I don't care if it's December or if it's July or what month it is. But the second thing that I always targeted our staff over the summer was to generate 1,000 new leads into our system, 1,000 new name, address, phone number, nowadays, email address, etc. So and of course, mobile number is preferable, but always to focus on having 1,000 new leads over the summer so that we had a big, fresh pile of prospects that we could mail to, email to, text to, telemarket to, etc. for back to school. So we have a big opportunity May, June for summer specials. We have a big opportunity for August, September for back to school specials. So our mission was always collect 1,000 leads June, July, August, so that we had 1,000 people. And again, going back to your initial conversation, Amanda, 1,000 people for back to school marketing, which I would always target to start 2, maybe 3 weeks before school went back in session. So if school went back in session mid-August, I would have it starting at least by August 1st, if not a little bit before. If school went back in session, let's say September 1st, I would have a big back to school blitz starting mid-August. I always wanted to have at least a couple of weeks, if not 3 weeks before school went back in session, plus 4 to 5 weeks after school was back in session to really focus on that. Is that making sense to everybody so far? So,
and your number, 1,000 leads, that kind of was where we were at. And I believe it was summer before last when we had, there was some big blockbuster movies going, and that was the summer that we ended up with 120 enrollments over those 3 months. And we had about 1,000 leads to do that.
Yeah.
And of course, they trickled in from those leads that we have. They trickled in for the next 3 or 4 months, just feeding off of those. dripping on those and contacting those. We were able to get quite a few more enrollments after that between then and December.
Yeah.
And that's a big lesson that everybody needs to make sure they keep in mind, is that the leads don't die. They shouldn't be dead. You know, once you have them, you got to keep on communicating with them for a long time. I mean, we just don't give up on them really forever.
Yeah, and welcome, Master Moody. What you're saying is exactly right. What the issue is always is keeping them warm, right? There's a difference between a cold prospect and a warm lead, and the difference is both that they raise their hand, but frequency of communication. If somebody, let's say they came into an introductory class in your school last January, and you have had zero communication with them since. Well, they're a prospect because you know that they had at least some interest at one time, but they're certainly not a warm lead if you haven't continued to educate, communicate, drip on them, touch base with them. What we want to be doing is constantly communicating with anybody who's shown any level of interest. And by constant, again, emails dying a slow and painful death, but what you've got to do by email is you've got to be, like twice a day, dripping on them with email, using that. By direct mail, I'd want to be communicating with them, maybe once a week. By text message, maybe at least a couple times a month. By outbound live telemarketing, maybe once every 6 or 8 weeks. And by Facebook, it could be higher frequency than what we're doing with email. Doing retargeting. Master Moody, Master Smith had asked that you could do maybe a quick recap of last Thursday, since I wasn't there, and I guess you did some grassroots marketing plus also some online marketing.
That was last Wednesday, Master Oliver.
Yeah, last Wednesday. I'm sorry.
For online marketing or for grassroots?
Just maybe a 5-minute recap of what last Thursday was.
Mainly the online.
Last Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, just mainly the online marketing that you were talking about, Master Moody.
For 5 minutes. So some of our guys that are on the call or members that have heard us go through this and have probably got a lot of this stuff pretty well nailed. But for online marketing, what we see a lot of for the owners, if I get a lot of echo, I sound like I'm echoing. Is it okay with everybody?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. So what I end up seeing a lot, and what we end up seeing just over and over again with members, is they've got two real issues online, or more than two, but one is that their website isn't designed very well. And a lot of times we're talking to owners, and it's done by somebody in their school, or it's done by themselves, and you see these ads online to see Squarespace or Wix or one of these so-called free, or even GoDaddy. You can design your own website, and that doesn't generally build two things. One is a site that is well recognized by Google, ironically, that doesn't have very good search engine optimization, which is the way that Google can recognize your site. And the second is it's not designed well from a conversion point of view, that the site, once people come onto your site, that they convert and turn into leads, or that they call you. That's what we really want the sites to be. And very often we see these sites that are designed for students that have a lot of information with their class schedule and classes, and what forms they're supposed to do, or what material they're supposed to cover, or what kind of information is supposed to be for their next testing. And that doesn't really help you sign up prospects. So your website has to do a couple things. One is it has to be good at, really, really good at converting once prospects show up at your site, turning them into phone calls or forms that get filled out, lead forms that you get their name, phone, and email at least, preferably that plus maybe their address and other information. And the second is it's got to be really, really recognized by Google and the major search engines. Google would really be in the primary one. The second thing that people aren't doing, or they see this as the same thing in building their website, but it's really a separate thing, is driving traffic to their website. It's really a separate thing. Your website itself is good and can generate some traffic, but you need to also generate traffic by other sources. One of those is AdWords or Google. That's why Google makes money. Google isn't free. Google makes billions of dollars. In fact, I think it just overtook Apple as the #1 brand in the United States. I just saw that on USA Today. I don't think that means it's the #1 most valuable company, but it's in the top 10. And it's because they make a lot of money. Well, they make money by selling ads. And those are, when you do a Google search, you see these ads, and they look like a regular free listing, but there's a little box that says ads. And that's called an ad word, and that's what you can buy to drive traffic to your site. When people are searching for karate, that's a primary method that you can use to drive traffic. Another way is Facebook. Facebook also sells ads to drive traffic to your site. And there's other methods to drive traffic. Now, there's more ways to do business online than those two, but fundamentally, you've got to make sure, no matter what happens, that your website is good at converting leads, your website is recognizable, and then you don't leave that by itself, but you also do other things to drive traffic. And Master Oliver mentioned a couple other things like remarketing.
Why don't you just take a minute and focus on this right now?
Oh, Mr. Spence there was unmuted. Did you have a question?
I think it was a side conversation. I just muted it.
Okay. Yeah, but that's kind of the summary of what we talked about Wednesday. I'm not sure in what detail we need to go in from there. Certainly,
I think that's good. I just wanted to kind of quickly recap it for everybody. The first meeting we had did not get recorded, some technical glitches, but we do have the all of that material from Master Smith. It's available for everybody. The one last week was recorded. It'll be up on the Summer Success site and everywhere else. So you guys will all have access or already do have access to that meeting from last Wednesday. That was the Summer Success meeting if you missed it. But that's good, Master Moody. And let's cycle back. I was saying 1,000 leads over the summer. Master Smith mentioned movies. And you just mentioned online marketing lead capture.
Master Oliver, I was just going to mention one thing. All the other stuff that you do, if you don't have your website set up right, you don't have your online marketing set up right, it lessens the value of this other prospecting too.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's really the way to think about the website is somebody can walk through the door and ask you questions. So you're working with them face to face, belly to belly. They can pick up the phone and call you. You're working with them, in real time, or they can visit your website to learn more. And then the mission of the website is to convert them to a lead, meaning you capture as much information as possible, but ultimately to convert them to you're talking to them on the phone, so you can talk to them face to face. And a lot of people miss that the point of the website is not to be an online brochure. The point of the website is to be a grease chute that moves them from an offer to giving you information to talking to you face to face or at least on the phone initially to make an appointment. That's the only purpose. We look at websites that have all kinds of exciting stuff on it, videos of your last tournament and pictures of students doing all kinds of stuff and stuff that's for the students, all that. You want a grease chute. Prospect shows up at the site. They give you information, they pick up the phone and call you, or they give you information that you can get them on the phone. That's the purpose of the website. Then the structure of the website, there are marketing purposes, and one marketing purpose is to be found in the organic listings, robustly in the SEO. The second way to generate traffic online is not only be found effectively by Google search in Google local places and so forth, but also to be found in search by buying pay-per-click. And if there is a point where things may, depending upon the summer and the media and everything, where things may be slow midsummer, is, your search traffic may die down. There are summers, where the search traffic increases in July and August. I would argue that your search traffic probably is up in May and June usually, because you have, especially for the kids market, you have parents looking for summer activities, and then it's going to spike again for back to school. But if it goes slow a little bit in July, well, what you have to do is you have to shift from search marketing online to marketing where you're getting in front of good prospects, and that tends to be both retargeting existing leads, and it tends to be Facebook marketing as opposed for waiting for them to look for you in Google or other places like that. But go ahead, David.
I had two questions actually. One, the landing pages that a lot of people use for Facebook leads, where you capture their email, their phone number, all that stuff. Are those? My website's a little. I just not spend the money right now on that. I'm generate more leads. That's where my money's going. I've been using landing page type stuff. Is that effective? I mean, is that kind of in lieu of or in addition to, or? And then the other question that I had is new item out. I don't know if you've worked with it at all. It's called a Google Disk. Basically what it is broadcasts a 40-character commercial to any Android phone that's within 400 yards of you. And as soon as they go outside of that range, it's gone, but you can use a landing page to capture those. Has anybody used those? I mean, it's pretty cheap.
Master Moody, you experimented quite a bit. Let's start with that second question first.
Yeah, and we experimented quite a bit and found it wasn't really very useful at all. I mean, it's there's a lot of time and labor involved in setting it up and everything. To get it to work and to get it, we just didn't find that it was going to be that valuable. You know, what you're talking about, more effective is putting a table out in front of your school if you haven't walked by traffic, because you're talking about walk by traffic. Right. You know, have a table out of your school and pay attention and train your staff to be really good at when somebody walks by and looks at the table, it's got some stuff on it, that you go out there and you're good at going and grabbing them. You know, and one thing that you're saying, Master Oliver, which is exactly right, is the purpose of all this online stuff and the purpose of all the mail stuff and the purpose of all the other things is to get them on the phone talking to a human being. Yeah. You don't want to replace that. To address the first question is,
well, let's stay on the second question for half a second. Is David, on that second question, is what you're talking about is a device that basically broadcasts out to Android phones an advertising message. And you know, there's a national organization. We have a few of their franchisees as members, United Martial Arts. And one of the things I've seen that they actually teach their units to do fairly effectively is what Master Moody just said, is be in high traffic area locations, but always have the door open, have a table out front, have literature on the table, have a lead box out there, one thing or another.
TV going.
Exactly. You know, everybody should think in terms of maximizing your retail space. At the very least, you want to have a flyer holder box, like on the real estate signs, on the front door where people can grab a flyer if they're not there. You want to have, you know, it's one of the few places that a QR code might be useful. QR code to click for a free introductory offer. You want to make sure, I like those Ring doorbells, you know, put the Ring doorbell on the front with signage that says, if the door is locked, we're available to answer questions, you know, hit this. Now, that's not going to get a flood of traffic, but, you know, they're cheap. You can get them on
well, my thing with it was, we have the after school program. So we've got our vans sitting in front of the school. And if we're broadcasting that message while the vans are, I could have one in each of the vans at 5 different schools. You know, they're hitting all the parents just as an option. And then the other one is the summer camp thing. We're traveling around the city and it goes with us. So whenever we're at a kid's function, a kid's activity place, it would be generating at least.
Okay, that's a little different. I thought he was talking about at the school.
No. What this is a device that broadcasts out to Android phones a notification, an ad. You know, if you want to picture what it is, Jeff, remember the movie Minority Report, where they would see his retinal scan and then put personalized messages everywhere he went. It's like the first step in, you know, my phone periodically, because I'll make the mistake of downloading the wrong app, you know, the Target app or whatever, will notify me, you know, when I'm within 50 feet of Target we have a special day on, toilet paper or whatever. I always have to remember, don't turn that crap off. David, we've experimented with that quite a bit. Didn't find it useful. Master Moody and I were looking at it quite a bit to try to figure out whether that was, it can't do any harm, and it's inexpensive, but it's not going to do much. You do want to maximize the signages on your buses. You want to have flyers on the front door. You want to have good signage on the front door, the Ring doorbell thing. Hell, on the buses, I'd have a brochure holder on the exterior of the bus. Hopefully you weren't, littering too much with that. But go back to the first question. An app like Unbounce or Lead Pages, and there's a bunch of them that can create specific landing pages for individual ads is very useful. It's not the same as your website, right? What it is I do an ad on Facebook, and the number one criteria for having a good conversion rate from the ad on Facebook is that the ad matches the landing pages. The landing page, the offer matches the landing page, the graphics match the landing page. If they click on it and they end up at something that doesn't look like what they just clicked on, they go away. If they click on it and it's a continuity of what they just clicked on, and see, so the mistake people will make is I do an ad on Facebook and I take them to my website. And so I'm a soccer mom looking for my 12-year-old is one example. And then you take me to a website and it shows some girl in boxing gloves for cardio kickboxing, shows some guy with no shirt rolling around the ground for MMA, shows some other picture of birthday parties or some damn thing, and then it shows a deal with a kids program. Well, that's a mistake, because if it's the mom clicking on it, looking for something for her kid, and now she sees all of that, they go, oh, that's not for me, and they leave, right? However, if she's clicking on it for a kids program, comes to a landing page with the offer congruent, the photo congruent, the structure congruent, which is then asking for contact information. That's very useful. And David, it doesn't replace having the website set up properly for SEO purposes, doesn't replace having the website set up properly for lead capture. The landing pages are not designed to go from offline marketing to online, meaning they're not designed to drive them from a QR code, I guess they could, but they're not designed to drive them from your advertising your website on the van to it's the right place from the show, because just structurally it's hard to do it that way. They're not designed from you mail out a postcard and they go to a website. They're not designed for any of that kind of stuff, right? The other thing that you get with that, and I didn't want to spend too much time on online marketing today, but the other thing that you get with that is you have to remember that Facebook reviews and Google reviews are really important nowadays, but part of it is anybody who comes in contact with your school, and the stats are showing, I believe, 85%. 85%, so let's take the kids market with soccer moms. Soccer mom, comes into a birthday party, or they see you at a movie theater, or they see you at an event, or they drive by your school. 85% are going to do what? They're going to Google your school. Now, they may not Google keywords. They may not Google martial arts lessons, your geography. But what they may do is just Google the name of your school. Why are they doing that? Well, what they're doing is researching you to see if other people have had bad experiences, other people have good things to say, what's out there. Heck, with some people, they're looking for a criminal record, they're looking for, complaints, or they're looking for any of that kind of stuff, right? So it's very important, one, that if they go Google you, that your site shows up and it's a grease chute into give you contact information and contact. But number two, it's very important that you now have 150 five-star Google reviews. It's very important that they come up with 100 five-star Facebook reviews. And I see people get very lazy on this. It's increasingly important, and it's important in part because if you don't actively work on getting positive reviews, The only thing you get is the occasional person that you piss off. So you get the one raving lunatic, or you get the competition down the street who goes and gives you a bad review pretending to be a former student. You get that type of stuff if you don't control it yourself. And the way you control it yourself is you make an active effort to get everybody who's happy to go do a positive review. And so David, does that answer that question? You know, the lead pages isn't a substitute for your website, but the landing page for any online ad needs to land them on a page that directly matches graphically offer direction of what they're looking for. It's why generally, I was just looking at one of our new members' website, and it's I don't know, it's one of the templated by, who was it, FC Online or somebody like that. But here's a website that predominantly is teaching traditional martial arts predominantly to kids and families. But there's an MMA, you know, icon and photograph. There's a grappling icon and photograph. There's a cardio kickboxing icon and photograph, and 4 or 5 others, all of which are incongruent with what they do predominantly. And everything you put up on the website that's incongruent with the ideal prospect that sees takes them further away, not closer to you, right? Part of the reason why you want to land them on a targeted landing page, but also part of the reason why you want to get all that other crap off of there. What martial artists will think is, well, somebody might show up on my website wanting MMA, and then I'll show them what we do, and they'll decide they want Taekwondo. Well, see, that's the wrong logic. What you want to have is everything that's on your site to be congruent with what you do and what you want your ideal prospect to see, not incongruent with all that stuff, if that makes sense to everybody.
But this highlights a problem, David, that you may be having. You're getting, I think the issue we get is distracted by new technologies. And part of what we're trying to do is help filter out these distractions, because there's a lot of things going on, like these iBeacons, and that's the Apple version of the device, the Android device that you're talking about. And I mean, these are marginal technologies, brand new technologies, in some ways cutting edge. You could call them cutting edge. But when Facebook introduces a new thing, or Google introduces a new thing, it could be really valuable. But, you know, when we look at this stuff, we want to look at the real results and real numbers and see if some other industries are having success with it, and see whether we can figure out how to make it work. You're spending a lot of time doing stuff like this, David, and maybe some of the rest of you guys are, particularly in Facebook. There's a lot of money, I think, going into boosting posts or doing other stuff, but not fixing your website. Well, your website's sort of the fundamental thing that if all that stuff fails, people are going to look you up, and they're going to look you up and find you on your website. Well, kind of being cheap enough not to spend a few $100 to fix that up is probably not a good use of your time or money or effort. So
it's not terrible. I mean, I kind of misrepresented. I mean, we have a lead capture program on our website. We have sign up for a free class on our website. We have call to action buttons all over the website for people to engage with us. It just, I need to get pictures. I need to get some other stuff and tinker with it. But my thing was, we were talking a lot about the Parthenon and trying to develop all these different pillars and different things going on. This was not a replacement of everything else. This is just one more thing to try to generate people. I'm not looking for this to be my magic pill to get me 50 leads a month. It's just something that if it generates 20 and then the landing page gets 30 and something else generates 10, I mean, I'm still drawing people into
David, the answer is it's cheap. You know, feel free to do it. Our experience so far is it's a neat toy, but it's not going to create much, if any, traffic.
Yeah, just be careful of getting enthralled and spending a lot of time and effort or money on stuff that maybe hasn't been proven to show much. That's kind of what we're here for you is, you know, let's get the right Parthenon, and then let's make sure that each of the pillars you give is strong.
Yeah, but moving forward, so Master Smith a few minutes ago mentioned generating over 1,000 leads and 120 enrollments from movie theater promotions. And that is one thing that in most years has been a primary opportunity in the summer. Now, the cycle has changed a little bit. We've already had 3 or 4 of the big blockbusters In the last couple of years, that's been true. I've come out in the spring already, as opposed to midsummer. But actually doing a booth in a movie theater is one of many places to do live event marketing. So I was just, as you guys were talking about that, I was going through our the summer movie release. What we know is, Avengers broke all records. Black Panther broke a ton of records. I think that Deadpool did too. And we also know that Solo, although it's getting kind of panned, I think it broke all the records for a Memorial Day weekend release. They're trying to compare it to the other Star Wars movies. But coming out over the summer, you have The Incredibles, June 15th. Not just a kids movie. It's I guess it came out like 15 years ago. So there's an awful lot of young adults who saw it as kids. I didn't realize it'd been that long. Then you have Jurassic Park or Jurassic World on June 22nd. You have Ant-Man and Wasp on July 6th. You have Hotel Transylvania, Mission Impossible, Hotel Transylvania, July 13th as a kids movie. Mission Impossible, July 27th as more of an adult crowd. All of those will probably do big numbers. I imagine at the very least that Incredibles, Jurassic World, and Ant-Man and Wasp will do huge numbers, meaning 100 million plus opening weekends. The movie theater promotion idea is the same as all live event marketing promotions. It's one place that geographically that most of the people are going to live within a certain radius, so you can target whether they're likely prospects for your school. Number two is, because of geography primarily, there is a little bit of a demographic sort. So there will be some theaters that, draw people who financially aren't your target market. There will be others that, financially are more likely to be target market. And then the thing is it a big theater? Is it an AMC 24 screen theater, or is it, a dollar cinema on its last legs? If it's the AMC 24 screens, that's the one I probably want to be in. Regal, United Artists, we can go through the list. But that's the one I want to be in. But the biggest criteria for whether that's going to work is whether the theater is in the right place. Number two, whether it's a big multi-screen, nice complex. And then number three, is it a weekend that there's a blockbuster coming out? So the weekend of Incredibles, the weekend of Jurassic World, the weekend of Ant-Man and Wasp are in all likelihood sure winners. So, and I see a lot of the the bozo explosion of consultants running around are they try to mimic everything that we're teaching people to do. But what I hear a lot of times is, the movie theater thing doesn't work. It's too hard to set up. It's, the theater doesn't want you to know it. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's the easiest damn things to set up. And in most cases, there's one company that controls 85% of the screens in North America. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call them and write a check and hold the booth. It's the easiest thing in the world. Is National Cinemedia, ncm.com. In most major metropolitan markets, they have a local sales rep. You just contact them. You ask them to do a tabling. That's their language, not mine. A tabling is probably best case going to be $500 for the weekend. Worst case, going to be $1,000 for the weekend. It's a negotiable number. So if they quote you $850, you can probably get it down to $500 or $600 for the weekend. And the question is then, is it worth it? Well, Master Smith just said, the year that Karate Kid and Shrek came out, he did 120 enrollments predominantly from movies. That's an outlier, perhaps, but it's not unusual if you have those criteria, big theater, blockbuster in the right location, that you can generate 50 appointments in a weekend, maybe as much as 120 or 150 appointments in a weekend. So if you go out there for a weekend, let's say I paid $500 for the booth on the low end, and I generated 50 appointments. Well, that only cost me $10 per appointment generated. generally the ratios are going to be appointment generated, half or more are going to show up, half or more are going to enroll. So if I generate 50 appointments, that gives me 25, 30, maybe a little more introductory lessons taught. That gives me 12, maybe 15 enrollments. Now, is 15 enrollments or 10 enrollments, is that worth $500 and the labor to do it? Well, that's should be a no-brainer. If the average student that you enroll is going to contribute $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 over their lifetime, and I spent $50 per person, 500 divided into 10 enrollments, $50 per enrollment to get them plus labor. You can't forget the labor. But maybe I spent $100 per enrollment to get them. I spent $100 to generate $5,000 or $6,000. That's about as good as you get, right? So, you want to focus on, what those ratios are and what what it's going to look like.
And Master Oliver, they do have, they do offer, you said that was what they call it, the tabling. They do have some other things that you can do that are even, cost less, that kind of in between your two tablings that you might do, where you can put banners up and do different stuff like that, just to have your name, so to speak, out there. So when you do your tabling, then people are going to recognize you or tie you in together a little bit more.
Well, when you talk to National Cinema Media, what they're going to try to sell you is a big package of video advertising on screen.
Yeah.
And what I would tell you is that's unlikely to work very well. Now, Master Smith and I have both done that where we got some results from it. We've more often done it where we didn't get much results from it. What I will tell you is all of the other stuff that they can sell you, if it's really something that you're going to have some big results with, if it's, if they do another Karate Kid or something comparable to that, is it might be worth it if you also have the tabling and you have the presence in the theater and all of the other marketing is driving them to the table. From my expectation, it's usually not worth it. Think about the on-screen advertising is all before the movie. So if I go to see Jurassic World, I'm seeing on-screen advertising before the movie. Then I'm sitting through hopefully an exciting and terrifying and adrenaline rush movie for 2 hours. Question is, what's the likelihood of me remembering anything I saw on screen 2 hours later, right?
And how many get there in time for the advertising? Because now they have
reserved seats.
Minutes of previews, and there might be 5 pre-stuff, and those people coming in a little later.
Yeah, and what a lot of people will say is, oh well, I can do this on-screen thing, I can do this other thing, I can do this other thing, and I've got to tell you, having done anything and everything you do with a movie theater, and I was doing anything and everything you do with a movie theater where they were comping it all for me years ago. The thing that works is having live human beings in the theater with a tabling, done just the same we would do any other live event. So you want to always have a prize wheel, the big light up LED. Hopefully it makes noise. It's very visible, where they line up, they spin the wheel to win a prize. Before they spin the wheel, they give you contact information. After they spin the wheel, you make an appointment. What our stats are is 75 to 85% of the people that give us contact information will make appointments on the spot. Now, what you don't want to do nowadays is structure things so that what worst is exposure. I've just got a banner up on the wall. Next worst is I'm just passing out flyers, right? What I always want to leave is I want to leave with name, address, and phone number. But nowadays, having name, address, and phone number creates a very difficult cycle to get hold of them. What we know in today's world, in the mobile world, the good thing about mobile is now you can text them. You also have all of the online retargeting options and so forth. The bad thing is human beings just don't answer their phone, right? they certainly don't answer their phone when it's an unrecognized number. So what we want to shift to is not from just generating leads, but we want to make sure we make appointments on the spot. A couple of things with that, Master Moody, your idea was sharing the V card, sharing right then and there when you talk to them, sharing the school name, phone number, the staff names. You put the contact record in your phone, and you can just share it. You can share it wirelessly, or you can share it by text message. And then sharing that information, what happens next is that way when I call them, it comes up the school information and your people's name rather than as an unrecognized number, right? So one aspect is sharing the V card, make sure you have the school address so that they can get driving directions, make sure you have the phone number. Maybe if you have multiple numbers, that might be outbound calls, and there's solutions to that. We probably won't get into today. But if there's multiple numbers that you might be doing outbound calls, one, you should fix that, but two, have all the numbers in the V card there, have the staff's name in the V card. But then when you make the appointment, share that with them so that it goes into their phone. We also have it set up where it's automated, where they get an automated text message that has that in it, so that if they add that to their contact information, you're now in their phone. That helps. But again, with the live event marketing, what also does help is having somebody there in a character costume. And if it's a stormtrooper at the Solo release, or if it's Captain America at the Avengers release, that probably marginally helps. What I think it's important is to have somebody in, not like kids' Halloween costume, but a costume that looks halfway decent. I mean, you can go to eBay and find all these things and get one fairly inexpensively. My thing was, we always had the teenagers draw straws. Whoever got the short straw had to wear the costume. But having somebody out there in costume helps. You want something that the kids are going to want to come over and get a picture with or come say hi to. What I've seen people do is do that wrong. They'll put the guy in the costume out there and everybody's getting pictures, but they're not queued up in the line. You know what? You want it to be queued up in the line, get their information, spin the wheel, make an appointment, then get the picture with the character, and preferably have pipe and drape or something blocking it off so it cues that line. Is this making sense to everybody? Everybody questions about this? Glenn, I see you had a hand raised on our system here. Did you have a question? Feel free to just chime in here.
I'm trying to get in here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I'm sitting there trying to push all these buttons now. I got nothing on the screen. But anyway, yeah, I had one question. I just had a student that came from last summer that was summer camp. But we decided not to do summer camp this summer due to a lot of things going on. And but the aunt of her said she wanted to sign her up for the summer. And of course, yeah, absolutely signed up for the summer. And we basically, she had to pay 3 months all in advance, and she didn't get a discount on the price, but it was a summer thing. Then my wife suggested, hey, maybe we should have an offer like that, even though they may still live here, but if you get them in, maybe it's another leg in the Parthenon to gain more students. I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, I guess two things, and I've got some background noise. Let me shut this off for. Hopefully that will help. But there are two things. Absolutely, May and into June, you should have some kind of summer offer that goes out. And at the very least, that summer offer should go out to everybody who you have in your prospect file. And that's a whole different conversation. But if you're not keeping a good lead file and dripping on them constantly, keeping them warm and so forth, you've got to do that. But everybody that you have that's come to an intro, that didn't enroll, who has raised their hand at any kind of event, who's opted into your website, you should have in the file anybody who's come in for a birthday party or come in for a graduation or any kind of bring a friend event, and anybody who's been a student who is now an inactive student. I would always cycle the inactive students in part back into that prospect file because they were interested at one time, and 99 times out of 100 they didn't leave because they don't like you. They left because they just got distracted, right? So absolutely, number one, I would have some kind of summer offer that goes out. Now, with offers, there's again a lot of mythology that goes on in our industry. And the way you have to think about any offer, not just a summer offer, is this: is it's certainly true that somebody who comes in for a paid offer is somewhat more solid than somebody who comes in for a free offer, right? Money transacted is one more trial close of their pretty serious. But it's also true that the longer the introductory period is, 3 months versus 2 months versus 6 weeks versus 3 weeks versus 2 lessons, let's say, the longer that introductory period is, the harder it is to shift them into a regular enrollment, especially in the first lesson or two, right? So what you see is, you know, different people I've coached over the years picked up one piece of what we're doing. And so, like, it seems like everybody in the MMA world, because of Lloyd, thinks that 30 days free is the only offer that works and the only offer that should go out there. Well, it's a fine offer, but it's fine in the right place at the right time for the right purpose. It's not the only best offer. Glenn, to be directly responsive to your question, absolutely, I would make an offer right now, but for most years, I would kick it off May 1st and make sure it goes through, say, at least mid-June. And that's based upon when for the kids market, when the schools get out, right? So I want that summer offer to be hitting about a month before schools get out and going at least 2 or 3 weeks after school got out. But I would hit a summer offer. Now, we've done a 3-month offer, a 6-week offer, a 4-week offer, a variety of offers for summer. I would tend towards preferring a 6-week versus a 3-month, and do something that's, you know, the way that I guess you can think about it nowadays is it's like a Groupon offer, where it's like a super cheap offer for a relatively short period of time. So that's one thing, Glenn. But the second thing is make sure that you're converting them at the first or second lesson, that you're not waiting around for 4 or 6 weeks to convert them. One of the methodologies that one of the Bozo Explosion is teaching is they sign people up on like a 6-week or a 2-month offer, and then they drip them an email like 3 times of, if you want to enroll now, it's cheaper. Well, that's just stupid. What they're doing is they're missing most of the people that they'll enroll. You want to do a 1 or 2 lesson introductory process, give them a rationale for applying what they've already paid towards the enrollment that normally, you know, I mean, our language would be normally $600 to enroll. Since you came in on the $97 6 weeks offer, we give you a $300 credit for that if you enroll today. Plus, we give you the 6 weeks in addition to that. So you're basically going to save $300, plus you're still going to get the 6 weeks. Glenn, does that help?
Yeah, giving them a slightly decreasing offer as the time rolls out on a trial membership is encouraging them to wait and encouraging them to quit at the end of the time period. It's absolutely the opposite strategy.
Yeah, I was already kind of doing that. I kind of one of those learning lessons. I started off, you know, somebody said try, you know, 1 week, 2 weeks, all the way to 4 weeks, and I found that 2 weeks or less, the percentage of people enrolling was much higher than the ones that were longer than that, like you said, because it wasn't as, I don't know, as fresh or new or whatever. So I have my 2-week introductory offer already in place. I was just looking at, should I try to get a summer offer of some type, and then of course within the first 2 weeks try to, if they're going to still be in the area, try to enroll them, you know, into a regular program. Absolutely. And give them a credit for any money that they paid towards that. So I get it, but I didn't know, should I try to market it as such, or should I just continue to go with what I'm going with?
No, I've absolutely marketed it as such. In fact, all through the year, you should market in January. It's your New Year's offer. And in May and June, it's your summer offer. And in August, September, it's your back to school offer. And, over the holidays, it's your Christmas or holiday offer. So absolutely, you should phrase it that way. And depending upon how frequently the same individuals are seeing the offer, you want to change it up periodically, right? If it was just, I'm broadcasting it out to Facebook to an audience of 30,000 people, there's no particular reason to change it up until it goes stale, meaning the cost per click, the cost per lead is starts to go up. But, and in our case with like newspaper advertising, I basically divided the year into 6 chunks, but had the offer for that period of time, a flight schedule and so forth that we would do. So absolutely, Glenn, you want to do that. But the other piece of it is anchor in is one of the things you want to do is anybody who has dropped out or not enrolled, who's in your database, now is a very fruitful time to go at them because they're looking for something to do for the summer. Then they're looking for something to do for the fall. So you have a May-June marketing window, and then you have an August-September marketing window where you want to be in the mail constantly. You want to be telemarketing to them. You want to be text messaging to them. You want to be Facebook retargeting to them, Google retargeting to them. You want to be doing all of that stuff to that list, heavy. And right now with something that's tagged a summer offer. That's absolutely right. Michael, I see you had your hand raised. You guys don't have to raise your hand. You can just ask a question, but just jump in. Michael, did you have a question?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me okay now?
You're great.
Okay. Sir, it was on the topic of offers specific to the movie theater booths. Did you, as a general rule, prefer a free offer or a paid offer for those booths? And I wonder what Grandmaster Smith would say as well.
Well, in almost all cases, the theater won't allow you to do a paid offer, right? Within National CineMedia's contract, that's the thing. What they're worried about is you're going to get the last $20 and they're not going to spend it on popcorn and Coke, right? So the default in that situation is a free offer because of the environment. Now, you can expand that into other live events, right? So if you go to a big 4th of July festival or you go do a fun run for cancer or some other event, I tend to default, Michael, in all of those cases, in part because I've always had the same problem you have, is I'm not the one doing it. I've got, when we did the movie theater promotions, I had 13 booths out there at the same time, right? So it was easier to train my staff to close a free offer than it was to get them to close a paid offer in those kind of environments. So I tend to default to a free offer, but specifically responsive to the movie theaters is it's in the contract for most of them that they don't want you to be taking money at the theater.
Well, got it.
I would add to that at the movie theater, not only are you not taking money, you're actually giving them prizes. So on that spin wheel, everybody who spins the wheel gets 2 weeks free. So now we have an excuse to come to the school. And then on the wheel is another 2 weeks that they could win, but there's also foam nunchucks, t-shirts, backpacks, water bottles, karate logoed with our stuff on it. Some cool prizes on there that they can spin and get an additional 2 weeks or get any of those other kind of prizes. And then you're setting up the appointment for them to come by, pick up their prizes at the school. But realize that your percentage, you're interrupting their normal traffic. They have their other plans. So that's why we don't have as good a show rate, obviously, as somebody who seeks you out and calls you because the timing is right for them to come in. So that's why we normally are getting about 50% of the ones we make an appointment. 50 to 60% will show up. But even to get those, we have to have systems in place to be contacting them by text message and voice message and emails and things like that too. And as Master Oliver said, the charity events that you're doing outside of the theater, we tend to have a lot better show rate because they are making a donation So they have put some money into it. So in that kind of case, we're giving them a month and a free uniform, and a month of lessons, or 2 weeks and a free uniform or something. So they're getting some value for what they're paying for their donation. And on those, we get a much higher show rate. Does that make sense? Did that answer your questions?
Yeah, the idea would be.
And Michael, I muted you for a second there because you had some wind noise. So.
Yeah, the idea.
Your question, Michael?
Yeah, the
Yes, sir, it did.
Is use the same process for everything, but then if you have the opportunity to do a sale after you've spun the wheel and they get the free prize, then you can say, oh, and then we also offer something that you're doing a sale. And again, the reason for that is to improve your show rates. Not because you're selling $39 or something. And then we usually give that money back, what Master Smith is implying about that donation. If you were at a festival for a school, then that money could get donated back to the school. Or if you're in you got a huge church, which you got one big, huge church we do, that it's huge. And we'll give that money back to the church. You know, we're not trying to make $39 off of 100 people. We're trying to make, you know, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 off of those people when they enroll and stay with us for a while.
Yeah, and the paid offer again in today's thought would be kind of like a Groupon offer, something that's too good to turn down. But to anchor in what Master Moody said, there are certainly places where doing a paid offer is your entree into the event, right? So if it's a fundraiser for breast cancer, or a fundraiser for Alzheimer, or something like that, your offer might be, $39 or $37 for 5 weeks in a uniform or 6 weeks in a uniform, all of it payable to the charity.
Yeah.
Right? And so
also done with that, Master Oliver, the birthday party or a pizza party at the school with a donation like that, a $29 or a $39 donation.
Yeah.
And then because parents are always looking for birthday party entertainment for their kids. And at our charity events, we always offer that in addition to a month of lessons with the donations and a free uniform. And our birthday parties are not, we probably, for every 1 month that people are donating, making a donation, we're getting 1 to 3 on a birthday party. And we'll pick up 15 or 20 birthday parties off of one event.
Yeah. And we have several people who have raised their hand. Again, just feel free to chip in right now. And we're a little over our allotted time, which is fine. We're happy to do Q&A for anybody. Derek, you have your hand raised? What's that?
Yeah, so I didn't want to just I just didn't want to interrupt. So
no, it's fine. It's fine.
How do you treat the segment that comes in just for the summer, like someone coming from college, they're just home for a few months? How do you treat pricing something like that? Do you give them something super cheap, or
I mean, honestly, I guess it depends. If I'm out running some kind of Groupon-ish summer offer, I'm just going to give it to them, right? I'm not going to, try to, hide it from them. If I'm not doing something like that, I would just kind of take whatever I'm normally doing and multiply by 3 and preferably have them pay it up front. We have usually had some kind of summer offers going. And then we would have the child who lives in New Hampshire or something, and they're in Colorado for the summer with grandparents or with the father, divorce situation, whatever, and just do it and, welcome them, high five them, just know that they're not going to be there. And in fact, I would always, try to figure out where they're the rest of the year and figure out if I knew a good school that I can say, well, until August you'll train here, and then you're going to go. In that case, you're going to go to Buzz Durkin School in New Hampshire because that's the best I know in that area. Financially, it's not very worthwhile, but from a PR standpoint, a lot of times you develop just an awful lot of goodwill with all of those kinds of gestures. Does that make sense, Derek? Yeah, I mean,
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, and I've seen people who try to market to that. I don't want to market it to that, because really what I want is I want students who are going to be with us for 4 or 5 years, right? So, if there's some way to target.
I try to target those
Sure.
that come in like that, the kids that come in that are visiting. I try to target them to our summer camps, because our summer camps run $200 to $400 a week. So if we can get them in there for 4 weeks,
Sure.
we make almost $1,000 off of them.
Sure. I mean, if you're running a summer camp, certainly look to do that. And if they're there every summer, before they leave, pre-register them for your summer camp next summer. And again, I will say over the years, I'm not a big fan personally of summer camps, although it's a wonderful business opportunity done right. I just want to make sure that you have a separate staff running the camp, and that you have a very productive marketing cycle for it. Any last question or two before we ring off for the day? And all of this has been recorded, so if you came in late or had to leave a little early, we'll have the recording available for everybody. And we're certainly happy to answer any additional questions before we call it a day. I will say on the movie side, you have Incredibles, Jurassic World, Ant-Man and Wasp, Hotel Transylvania, Mission Impossible. There's probably some others that I'm missing. But certainly Incredibles, Jurassic World, and Ant-Man are going to be huge, and they're coming up pretty quickly. On other live events in most areas of the country, maybe not so much in Phoenix, where Master Moody is, or in Fort Lauderdale someplace. But most areas of the country is when all the outdoor events are happening. I know around here we have fun runs for various charitable activities. We have a huge opportunity, so much stuff that we have to pick and choose around July 4th holiday, around Labor Day weekend. There's just so many different places where you can get out and be in front of a big audience of people. And again, that's very productive. We're finding 80% of the people we interact with will, 80% of the people who give us contact information will make an appointment. Half of them or more will show up, half or more will enroll. So, you go through pretty big volumes. I will say, we didn't mention it, but the key is the script. Is you've got to make sure that once they spin the wheel, is when your staff member gets, I have to go home and talk to husband, wife, child, look at my calendar, check the soccer schedule, whatever excuse they're going to give, but it's some version of, I got to go home and look or ask, and then I'll get back to you. They've got to have the script of, oh, I understand you didn't come to see Ant-Man today, thinking in terms of making a appointment to come in for a free karate lesson. We are going to be really busy. What I'd love to do is pencil in a time. I'll give you phone number, email address, etc. When you get home, if that turns out not to be a good time, I'll also give you the alternatives, and you can let us know a better time. But tentatively, do you think the Monday time or the Tuesday time would work better? Oftentimes that creates a conversation of, no, we have a church activity on Monday, and I know my wife is working on Tuesday night. Do you have anything later in the week? Oh, sure, we have Wednesday at this time, Thursday at this time. Yeah, I think we can make it on Thursday. Okay, well, I'll pencil that in. If it doesn't turn out to be a good time, let us know as soon as possible. But here's a packet of information about the school, and here's my name, and here's the phone number, and here's the name of our receptionist, and here's the email address, and so forth. Another thing we didn't mention is we're not in the software business, and a mistake I see people trying to make is find the perfect martial arts package to do everything in their school, and that's usually a fool's errand. One of the apps that we recommend, and there's 2 or 3 versions of this, different people who do pretty comparable apps, but I like Schedule Once. It's super inexpensive. It works with Google Calendar, it works with iPhone, iCal, whatever. But what it does is, once you set up properly, is it'll email them 4 times to remind them of the appointment. It'll text them 4 times to remind them of the appointment. It gives them a link in the reminder for them to go and reschedule it, so you can schedule it with all of your introductory times available, so they can go and reschedule themselves. it gives you the ability to format what the reminder is, so the reminders can have links to go watch a little video about your school. It can have links back to your website. It can have links back to testimonials, that type of thing. So it gives you the ability to format that you're automatically sending them additional information about the school and that you remind them of the appointment. That's a very cheap, inexpensive, and simple to set up option for doing automatic reminders. And I will remind everybody that if you're relying predominantly on email, I mean, you know, if you don't know, I wrote the first book on how to use the internet to market your martial arts school in the year, what was it, Master Smith, 2000 or 2001. Yeah, and that was back when we were, SEO was Alta Vista, pay-per-click was GoTo, and we were predominantly working on how to get in Yahoo's directory and do Alta Vista. Back then it was in the We've Got Mail generation. Remember the movie and Meg Ryan sitting there and Tom Hanks is in there staring at their AOL app, waiting for the little mailbox icon to come up. We're not in that era anymore. What the stats show is the average person's getting around 150 emails a day. And that's the ones that get through all the spam filter and everything. If they use Gmail, Gmail puts all the commercial mail in its own file that a lot of people don't look, or it puts them over in the spam folder that they're not looking. Again, one other reason to share the V card, so you're in their contact information so that it's more likely to get through. But if you're not using text messaging a lot, you're missing an opportunity, because text messaging is still nearly 100% open rate, much higher response rate. And when you're doing outbound calls, if you don't call, leave a voicemail, and then immediately text messaging, you're missing an opportunity, because many people who don't answer the phone will be responsive immediately to the text message. With that, if there's any last question or two for any of us, we're ready to answer.
I was going to add two quick things for everybody. When you do that appointment at the movie theater, do make sure that you give them an appointment card, you know, business size card with that appointment on the back. You know, it has the little schedule where you circle the day and the time, just like you get at a doctor's or a dentist appointment. And make sure you're reconfirming them through the text messaging and the other sources like Master Oliver said. But for those that aren't doing a summer camp, I would recommend for you to go to these summer camps and offer to teach a 4-week.
Well, and Master Smith, we're now getting into a new topic, so we'll do that next week.
Okay.
We'll do that next week. Yep. So any last question or two before we call it a day? No? Were you good? Okay. Well, have a great day. Hopefully this is valuable. The recording will be available for you. Toby, did you have a question? No? Okay. I see occasionally people are you know, it's kind of like the auction, you know, was that a...
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Hopefully it was valuable. Most everybody on here I saw was current members. If you're not a member, we'd love to talk to you about our ongoing coaching process if you're a good fit. And if not, we hope we give you enough information to get to where you are a good fit financially. So have a great day, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.